It Ends With Us is in theaters now, so grab your friends, wear your florals, and head out to see it.
The chemistry with Justin also was off the charts. I mean, really, truly.
Blake Lively's perfect image is completely shattered. And y'all, the backlash is getting so much worse by the minute. In just 72 hours, her PR team made 3 disastrous moves that turned what could have been a small hiccup into a full-blown career meltdown. It was so bad that fans are legit calling it the biggest flop in celeb crisis management ever. And as a result, she has gotten caught doing something that made it impossible for anyone to defend her. It's wild, but we're just getting started. And as if that wasn't messy enough, her husband, Ryan Reynolds, somehow made things worse by dragging Justin Baldoni into this train wreck with what fans are calling a low-key shady move on the It Ends With Us set. The once admired power couple is now the punchline of every meme, and the receipts are not looking good. This whole situation is spiraling so fast, it's hard to keep up, but trust me, the drama is unmatched. Y'all, there is a lot to unpack here, so grab your popcorn and let's get right into it.
Well, actress Blake Lively is at the center of a new controversy surrounding her new movie, It Ends With Us.
Right off the bat, let's get into the mistake number 1, which honestly might go down as one of the worst PR blunders we've seen this year. Blaming Justin Baldoni for her interview Backlash. This was so dumb because the only way this would have made sense is if the internet didn't exist to unleash receipts of her personal failures and meanness outside of Justin Baldoni's involvement. Let me explain. Even if you've been living in a Wi-Fi free cave, you probably heard about how this blew up. You know, Blake and Justin doing press rounds for their movie It Ends With Us, a project that has swelled in controversy so loud, even ghosts in the afterlife are in shock. It was during those tours that the storm really started to hit Blake. During these interviews, Blake's whole demeanor became the star of the show, and not in a good way. Her dismissive comments, a lack of empathy for DV victims, turning it into her business launch, the list is endless.
Understands the themes of this movie, comes across you in public, and they want to really talk to you. What's the best way for them to be able to talk to you about this? How would you recommend they go about it?
Asking for like my address or my phone number or like my location share. Or I could just location share you and then we could, I'm just
social security number.
I'm a Virgo, so I'm like, are we talking logistics?
Now, here is where things took a drastic nosedive. Instead of addressing these concerns head on, Blake's team decided to play the blame game, pinning the awkwardness on Justin. Remember at the time, Justin was literally trying to salvage the movie from a disgraceful flop, and yet Blake acted like she would rather be anywhere else. And in case she missed it, that was the time that Blake got canceled. Here's the thing. We live in an age where everything is recorded, analyzed, and turned into TikTok breakdowns. Fans started dissecting those interviews frame by frame, pulling out receipts of Blake's reactions compared to Justin's, and we all know how that went. The evidence did not work in her favor. Every side eye, every clipped response, it was all there for the world to see.
This is your night, mister.
No, this isn't my night. This is a night for all the women who we made this movie for. This is a night for Blake. This is a night for Colleen. I'm just so grateful that we're here.
Now, let's talk strategy or lack thereof. Blake's team had options. They could have acknowledged how her behavior came across, something as simple as, hey, Blake was having an off day, she's human too. Or literally the lame, half-baked apologies celebrities give, and boom! Situation diffused. Problem solved. But instead, a team of professionals decided that the best course of action would be the blame game. So they doubled down, blaming Justin, which only made fans dig deeper. And the deeper they dug, the worse it looked for Blake. You know when trying to cover something up only makes it blow up bigger? Yeah, that. By shifting blame, Blake's team accidentally turned what could have been a small, forgettable blip into a full-blown internet investigation. And let's not forget, Justin didn't even have to lift a finger to defend himself, at least not at the time. The videos were right there, crystal clear, proving Blake's actions were all her own. Her Her main character energy was stinking to the high heavens. And just like that, guys, this error would turn out to be way too costly for Blake's image, as it opened the door for 2 more massive mistakes that we're about to get into.
You see it, it feels like a big, beautiful summer movie, but like we didn't have any budget.
Now let's talk about mistake number 2, which honestly might have been worse than the first one, if that's even possible. Blake's team decided to pull the oldest, most overplayed, and completely transparent PR stunt in the book, rubbishing the Backlash on a planted story. Here's the play-by-play. The interviews went viral. People started talking, actually dragging Blake for her behavior. Instead of stepping up and addressing the criticism, her team decided to throw out the planted story defense, like that was supposed to magically make everyone stop talking. Well, it didn't. In fact, it completely backfired. Let's break this down because there are layers to how bad this was. First, accusing the media, fans, and social media detectives of being manipulated, just the same way she accused Justin of a smear campaign. That is a bold move, considering these are the same people who can find out what you ate for lunch 3 years ago with just a quick search. Basically, Blake's team wasn't just gaslighting people, they were lighting up a bonfire. Second, let's talk about credibility. When you tell people that their outrage over something they literally watched with their own eyes isn't valid because it's part of some conspiracy, you're not just losing the argument, you're losing all trust. It's like holding a cup and convincing others it's a plate when they are looking right at it. No, seriously, think about it. Even if this was a planted story, it wasn't, but let's just pretend. The behavior Blake got called out for, you know, her dismissive tone, the awkward responses, and the general negative energy and every devil-inspired thing she did at the time, that didn't come from some PR wizard's imagination. That was all Blake. And without knowing it, instead of letting the interviews fade into the background, this stunt gave people a whole new reason, not only to dig deeper, but also to hate her more. So now we had Blake's original interviews and the new ones of Blake's attempt to deflect. It made her look even worse. We've seen this play out before too. This one might ring a bell. Remember Amber Heard trying to claim her infamous statements were taken out of context during the Johnny Depp trial? Yeah, same energy, same devastating result. The moment you underestimate your audience's intelligence, you've lost. So what should Blake's team have done? Funny enough, the solution to this is literally the same as that of her first mistake. Simply take accountability. Something like, Blake didn't mean to appear dismissive, she's deeply invested in this project and can't wait for fans to see it. Then shift the focus back to the movie. Done! A PR crisis spinned into something manageable. But no, Blake's team decided to double down on denial instead of owning up, and it's only about to get worse because mistake number 3 is where the whole thing spirals out of control, like literally the grand finale of this disaster. Loves, just when you thought that Blake's team had hit rock bottom, they busted out the shovels and started digging, which is how we got to mistake number 3, letting the lawyers take over.
Blake Lively is speaking up after Justin Baldoni filed a second lawsuit, this time a bombshell lawsuit against herself and husband Ryan Reynolds.
You see, the second you lawyer up in a PR crisis, you're not showing strength, you're waving a giant neon sign that says, "We're panicking!" Sure, they probably thought that this move would shift the focus back to Blake's painfully awkward interviews and cancellation, or maybe even the movie itself. Instead, they turned a heartfelt story about DV, healing, and empowerment into a legal circus. Now, instead of fans discussing the movie's powerful themes, we're stuck wading through a swamp of cease and desist letters, legal threats, text messages, leaks, and gossip. Because what better way to promote a film about healing than by airing out every messy detail of a behind-the-scenes feud? Make it make sense, Blake. Here's why this was a disastrous flop. First, in an attempt to silence the drama, they made it 10 times louder. It's like pouring gasoline on a fire and acting shocked when it explodes. Social media was already in a frenzy, but the second the legal teams got involved, which if y'all can remember was just a month ago when Blake out of nowhere sued Justin for SA and a smear campaign, the internet turned into a full-blown investigative unit. Blake even assumed that if she shared some screenshots as proof, all of her wrongs would be made right. But boy, hasn't she become headline news for all the wrong reasons. By dragging this into legal territory, Blake's team basically handed the public a front row seat to her PR downfall. Let's not forget, when this story first broke, plenty of people came forward with shocking stories about Blake Lively's mean streak and their nightmare experiences working with her. But now, thanks to her decision to revive this mess, even more people are speaking out. Former colleagues, assistants, you name it, allegedly she tore them down, made their lives miserable, and spun the narrative to play the victim. Guys, the real tragedy here is what has become of It Ends With Us, a movie that was supposed to be a story that empowers and inspires people. Instead, thanks to Blake and her legal theatrics, it's been reduced to a tabloid fodder. The soul of the project is literally dead. On the brighter side though, the outcome isn't entirely useless. At least through Blake, we now know what to do if you want to tank your reputation. 1. Blame everyone but yourself. 2. Claim a planted story. 3. Bring in the lawyers. People are drawing all kinds of conclusions from this mess, but honestly, I think Blake is either surrounded by yes men too scared to challenge her, or by people who secretly hate her and feed her the worst advice just to laugh when it all blows up in her face. That's also not all, guys. We're moving on to Ryan Reynolds, who, believe it or not, has just helped Justin Baldoni's case against his wife Blake. And you guys, this was the plot twist we never saw coming. I need y'all to buckle up because this mess is about to hit new levels of chaos. So, just when we thought that Blake had secured her spot as the drama queen of the decade, her own husband might have just handed Justin Baldoni's team the bombshell that they needed to take Blake down. Ryan's actions have tipped the scales against Blake, and the internet is losing it. Whew. Apparently, Justin Baldoni's legal team, they are dragging Ryan Reynolds into this mess too. Why, you ask? Well, Ryan's latest Deadpool project, where he's not only acting but also writing and producing, might have just thrown Blake under the bus. Let's break it all down because this is juicy. It's scandalous, and loves, it's about to get wild. Justin's team recently sent a letter to Disney execs highlighting some very interesting parallels between Ryan's character, Nice Pool, and Justin himself. From the man bun, which Justin famously rocked for years before donating it to charity, to specific jokes about feminism and podcasts, the whole thing reeks of not so subtle shade. Not to mention that a lot of the material Ryan wrote and performed in this movie is oddly similar to the claims Blake made against Justin. Coincidence? Fans don't think so. Now remember, Blake has been screaming harassment and body shaming on the set of It Ends With Us. She even dragged Ryan into it, having him host meetings to mediate between her, Justin, and the production team. And yet, while all of this drama was unfolding, Ryan was out here writing scenes where Nice Pool jokes about an intimacy coordinator being missing, something Blake herself used to stir controversy. On top of that, there's that Nice Pool comment about Lady Pool, played by Blake's character, just having a baby, which mimics Blake's real-life claims about being body shamed postpartum. It gets worse. Nice Pool, in classic Deadpool fashion, takes another dig, saying this. In case you didn't know, Justin co-hosts a podcast on masculinity called The Man Enough Podcast. Clearly, all of these are just way too convenient to be a coincidence. And here's where it goes from messy to downright embarrassing for Blake. If her claims were as sensitive and as serious as she made them out to be, why is Ryan out here turning them into jokes for a blockbuster movie? Fans are calling it tone deaf at best and deliberate sabotage at worst. It's almost like Ryan saw Blake's case crumbling and thought, you know what this needs? Some Deadpool humor to finish it off. And here we are, loves, the absolute peak of audacity. Blake and Ryan didn't just hijack a movie, they hijacked the narrative. Like, can we just acknowledge how Justin Baldoni, who literally birthed It Ends With Us from ground up, was shoved to the side like an extra? Blake practically turned the set into her personal playground, rewriting scripts, directing scenes, and deciding who got to breathe on her set. Guys, this was someone who at first was only hired as an actress, had never read the book, and never heard of the author. But when Justin gave her an inch, she went a whole 10 miles in. As if dominating someone else's project wasn't enough, let's not forget Ryan's MVP move of attempting to buy Justin out of his own film. He offered a multi-million-dollar deal to buy out Justin Baldoni from the movie, saying, "This is the biggest film Blake has ever made. Ryan wants to make sure she isn't replaced in the sequel." They must have been super disappointed when Justin Baldoni turned down the offer. Ugh. So much for a power couple. But wait, it gets worse. Not only did Ryan and Blake dominate the production, but their so-called PR strategy was a glorified roast of Justin. Ryan pulled in his Deadpool buddies to clown around during It Ends With Us promotions, leaving Justin looking like the kid who wasn't invited to the cool table. Around that time, Blake also demanded that Justin be erased from the press tours entirely. Imagine pouring your blood, sweat, and tears into a movie only to be treated like a ghost. Oh, the audacity. And let's talk about that premiere debacle. Blake had Justin and his people locked in a basement. A basement basement. Like, y'all, at this point, it is so hard to tell if this was a film launch or an episode of Mean Girls Hollywood Edition.
Think about this. On what, could have been one of the most beautiful nights of my life career-wise, I literally was sent to the basement with all my friends and family for over an hour because I wasn't allowed to be seen. She didn't want me anywhere near her or the rest of the cast. So they ushered me off the carpet and they sent us down to the basement.
The disrespect was unreal, and it is all coming out now. Between the cast unfollowing Justin on Instagram and the eerie silence around his involvement, it's clear that this wasn't just professional tension, it was a full-on campaign to humiliate him. And Ryan, in that nice pool character, he couldn't resist one final dig, mocking Justin in Deadpool 3 because, yeah, when your wife is building a lawsuit, the best move is clearly to publicly roast the guy you're accusing. Smart strategy, right? If you squint, you can almost see the legal case crumbling under the weight of their own pettiness. So here we are. Blake and Ryan might have been chasing box office history, but all they've done is write a masterclass in bad PR. The fans see it, Justin's lawyer sees it, and now everyone sees it. If Blake thought that she could stroll into court without a scratch, she might want to think again, because this circus that they've created is about to implode. Honestly, this whole situation feels like a train wreck you just can't look away from. If Justin's team plays their cards right, Ryan's little jabs could turn into hard evidence that Blake's allegations aren't as solid as she wants people to believe. If this was supposed to be a power couple move, it's giving clownery. Thanks so much for watching, y'all. What do you think about this whole mess? Like, is this not the most chaotic drama we've seen in a minute? If you want to dive even deeper into the madness, check out my other video about Blake Lively's response to Justin Baldoni's outrageous new lawsuit. Trust me, it'll have you shook at how wild this fight really is. Do not miss it. See you there.